Okay, welcome everybody. We have special guest Chloe. Check out her outfit. Little Mrs. Claus here. Truth be told, she does not like to be dressed, so this is not going to stay on very long. But wanted to welcome everyone for a little holiday cheer. We're going to talk about some healthy, fun foods to make. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'm going to try and keep an eye on the Q&A. But if I miss it while I'm talking, I'll get to your answers afterwards. So definitely have any recipes on hand. If you have any questions about certain ingredients, let's talk about it and make it healthy. So I hope that you guys enjoy. It is Chloe's birthday on December 25th. So she loves this time of year. So I had to include her. All right, but I'm going to put her to the side though. So she can get out of this outfit. Right, babe? Thanks for being here. All right. It's always fun to start a little webinar with a little fur love, right? Okay, she's so excited now. I'm taking off her outfit. Okay, so welcome everybody to the webinar. I hope that you guys are just gonna pick up some tips. This is being recorded. It will be accessible on YouTube, and I'll be emailing this out to everyone if you signed up for it as well. So if you can't make it today, that's okay. I'll be sending out the link and you'll be able to share this with any loved ones, friends, and family too. So I think that this is a really important topic to talk about. It's a question that I'm always getting asked. What's a better option? How can we make this healthy? You know, all these things. So I'm really excited to share this with you guys. I'll introduce myself for anyone who is new. Here, I am Dr. Dawn Siglain. I am a naturopathic doctor, an acupuncturist, and Reiki practitioner based primarily out of Long Island. So here in New York and Huntington specifically. We do also have an office in Manhattan, and health and wellness is really important to me. So I love talking about this, and I'm really excited for this webinar. So when it comes to the holidays, we definitely have to remember self-care because it's so easy to get caught up. This is a different type of holiday season in 2020. Maybe not as many holiday parties, but there might be a few, maybe with, some low-key hanging out with friends or, even having some Zoom parties. So there might be still, even in 2020, ways to really try and be festive, and enjoy your time during the holidays. So even now, remembering some basic tips of self-care. So this is always a good reminder. Making sure you're getting plenty of sleep, right? This is when the cells of our body regenerate. So making sure that you're getting that adequate sleep. One of the telltale signs that you are is you're waking up with energy. So if you're tired when you get up, that could be a sign that maybe you're not getting your optimal amount of sleep. And could it be for a certain reason? Maybe you're eating too much sugar, having too many sweets, indulging in some holiday meals or drinking alcohol. All these reasons can really affect our sleep. One thing I'm always talking about is where's your phone at? Keep your phone out of your room, put it in airplane mode, turn off Wi-Fi at night, all different ways. Hydrating, so making sure that you're drinking. So the rule of thumb here is half your body weight in filtered ounces of water. Get that in every day, right? Some reasons as to why you might be dehydrated. Are you getting headaches? Are you constipated? Low energy, that could also be a reason for feeling dehydrated. Dry skin, some dry eyes, all kind of obvious reasons, but we forget one of the simplest things we can do is drink water, right? Out of a glass, make sure it's quality filtered water, maybe put a little bit of a lemon into it, and that helps the detox. Really good. Make sure you're getting enough water. Exercise. So I know the gym's by me. My gym is still open, thank goodness. Today, you can even exercise at home. I prefer being at the gym with my classes, but this morning I did some cardio in my home, and I got a good sweat going. Just 20 minutes. I did some running, some stretching, and I was good to go. So wherever you're at, just try and find those few minutes in the day. Don't let your exercise regimen be forgotten just because it's the holiday season. So whether even you just want to get some stretching in, right? If we're a little bit busy, and try and work up a sweat, right? It helps to detox when we're sweating out of our skin, our largest organ. We want to make sure we're being able to detox, right? So exercise, some kind of movement. There's something I always talk about with patients, dry brushing. So that's really easy. That's a great technique. Even when you do get back into your exercise regimen, dry brushing is great. It moves our lymphatic system. So you get a nice dry bristle brush, or you can even just use a washcloth that's dry, and you just go from the tips of your extremities in circular motions all the way to the heart. It's fabulous. And if you're not exercising, you definitely want to make sure that you're doing that, because that moves, what moves your lymphatic system naturally are your muscles. So when you're working out, it does that. So if you're not working out, definitely make sure you're dry brushing. Even if you are working out, dry brushing is great to add into your regimen of like self-care, daily healthy habits to get into your habitual, way of living. Dry brushing is really fantastic. So do it before the shower, because when you're doing the dry brushing, the toxins come to the surface. You want to be able to wash them off. Okay. And take it easy when you can. So breathe. So relax. Work on that parasympathetic nervous system. All right, our vagus nerve. We want to tap into that part of our nervous system that allows us to thrive. We really want to relax so we can enjoy all the moments when you're in the present moment. You can really enjoy it. It's going to add to a wonderful memory that you can have. So really take it easy when you can. Take little moments of the day. Do some nice deep breathing. That's a great way of tapping into this relaxation portion, and zen out a little bit and relax. I have some meditations. If anyone's been following me on social media, on my Facebook page, Dr. Dawn there. I post my meditations in the Salt Cave. I just had one last week. I will be there again on the 16th. What is that, next week? So I'll be there again on Wednesday at 2. And I'm always posting those meditations. So if you miss me in the Salt Cave, you can certainly listen to it, or just take some nice deep breaths, even when you're driving, going for a walk. Really tap into that relaxation part. You're going to get the most out of your holiday season. And then check in with yourself. What do you need to do today? What do you need for yourself to take care of yourself? Okay. So always tapping in, seeing what you need, and making sure that you're taking care of you. You are taking care of yourself, right? And having a gratitude practice, right? We can't build on things when we're always complaining about them, but you can always build on gratitude, right? Being grateful, and it just increase your vibrational energy. You feel good. An attitude of gratitude is the way to go, especially during the holiday season. There's so much we have to be grateful for, and really focusing on that than, other things like material items that, really don't matter. And just really, especially this holiday season, making the most of it, being grateful for being with your loved ones. If you're able to be with them, really, enjoy that and make the most of it. If you can't, still be grateful that we have Zoom and all ways of technology to be able to contact each other. So really not focusing on what we don't have, but what we do have. All right. So why am I talking about this? The benefits of healthy options. It's so important because when you're eating healthy, there's always this factor of feeling really guilty when you indulge, and whether you're eating too much or just making a bad choice. Sometimes there's that guilt factor. You don't have to have that. When you have something delicious and it's nutritious and it's healthy, you don't have that guilt, which is really good, because guilt's a really low vibrational feeling. It doesn't feel good. So when you take the right steps to take care of yourself, take care of your family, you know that you're doing all the right things, and then it's delicious. You end up changing your palate when you're eating healthy. So things that are really sweet, over time, they're not really that enjoyable when you've changed all the things that taste good for you. So when you're eating these healthy foods and you're making it part of your lifestyle, these foods are really delicious and they feel good, and you don't have that guilt. So full of flavor, so much flavor in healthy food. And especially, but even if you haven't changed your palate and you have a real sweet tooth, all the things I'm going to talk about today can really apply. When it's healthy, that's anti-inflammatory. So there's lots of great omega-3s that we're going to be talking about. There's all these nutrients in the food. It's and one of the best things that you can do for your body right now, we're living in such an inflammatory state, right? There are with health, with the media, the way people are talking to each other. There's so much ways of being inflammatory, but think about food. And when you eat healthy, it's anti-inflammatory, which can really benefit you. As a naturopathic doctor, I see this all the time. I specialize with autoimmune conditions. The root cause of a lot of issues, chronic illness that people suffer from, is inflammation. So if you can tackle this inflammation from the root with what you're putting in your mouth and eat real healthy foods and reverse this chronic inflammation, you're going to feel so much better. So, but inflammation presents differently in people. There's all different ways. So you might have inflammation coming out in one way. Let's say it's a rash. Someone else might be having joint pain. These are all signs of inflammation, right? When you don't feel good like that. So any more questions about that, let me know. Inflammation is a big topic, but when you eat healthy, eat foods that's good for you, when you feel good, we're decreasing that inflammation. Really important. Can't stress that enough. Nutrient dense. So when you're eating real foods, we don't have to worry about calories, right? Calories, schmalories. I'm always saying, when you're eating real food, there's nutrients in it. We've got macronutrients. We've got good proteins, good carbs, good fats, right? Good fats for the brain food, good carbs for sustainable energy, right? Good proteins to build amino acids for our neurotransmitters, for our mood, for building muscles, having good muscle tone. You want good macronutrients. You want good micronutrients, right? Full of vitamins and minerals in them. That's what you get. You want that nutrient dense, and you want that fiber, which that's what you get when you eat really healthy food. You miss out on the fiber when it's full of sugar or corn syrup or things like and all those things are really inflammatory. So you want fiber. It's really good for our digestive health, right? So, and you want to be feeling good for all these holidays. You don't want to have any digestive health. You don't want to be, having flatulence and burping and running to the bathroom and having bad bowel movements and all these things. You're not going to enjoy your holidays or your life in general when you've got all these digestive issues. We always talk about in naturopathic medicine, when in doubt, treat the gut. So supporting digestive health sometimes can be just the basics, eating good quality food, getting plenty of fiber, getting plenty of nutrients. And that's what you're going to do when you make healthy choices. So now that we've laid down some ground rules, let's break it down. So I picked a bunch of basics and ways that, so when I go through all these recipes, there'll be options in them. So I might list one ingredient, but this is for you to know that you can always switch it up. So white flour, right? So whenever a recipe calls for white flour, replace it with something healthy, right? And why do we want to replace it? Because you don't want this refined white flour that's been processed and lacking nutrients. And a lot of times in that flour, there's gluten in it, and gluten's really inflammatory. So this is a good one to talk about because people get really confused about gluten. Gluten got a really bad rap in our country, in America, unfortunately, because wheat is overly processed. So anything that has wheat in it has gluten. And gliadin is that protein in gluten. And it's really inflammatory when you eat it. So regardless, if you have celiac disease, you react to gluten right when you eat it. So for sure, 100% people who have celiac and react like that, they know, they've experienced it. They don't feel good. If you don't have celiac disease, or you're feeling inflammation, or you're feeling unwell, or you have some kind of chronic illness, gluten is in fact really inflammatory. And when people take it out of their diets, they can feel better. So you don't have to trust me. If you have anything going on and you're eating a lot of wheat, a lot of breads, a lot of processed carbs, think about how much of your diet has gluten in it and really try and scale back. And there's so many ways to replace it with healthy options. And when you do this, you don't really, it's tough to tell the difference. Okay. So when you're eating that, you get, and then your palate changes, you get really used to it. And when you feel good, you're not going to miss the white flour. Okay. So coconut flour is really good, especially for sweet dishes. Almond flour for some savory. And I can also use that for sweet dishes too. Chickpea or garbanzo bean flours. I love to make breads out of that. I think it's really flavorful. Arrowroot flour is another one. Lots of fiber that's in all these flours, right? And there's tapioca flour. There's a new one, tiger nut. I just got that. That's really good. I prefer that for savory. Oat flour. I've made veggie burgers with that. It's really got a doughy texture to it. So if you're going for that, that's a good option to use. There's tons of flours. So just explore them. I'm going to talk about millet flour. So there's all these different grains or nuts that when you grind them, they can be used as flour replacements. So really explore it. I also just recently got sweet potato flour the other day. And that was really good. I made a savory dish and I also made a sweet dish with it. And it's going to come up in here actually. So I'll talk about that. Butter. So butter is not that great, right? So dairy, if anyone's ever heard of my lectures, dairy is another really inflammatory food. Cheese, milk, dairy, all these guys. If you can get dairy out of your diet, you can really feel good. Dairy is for a calf to become a 400-pound cow. We're not trying to do it. There's no need for it. Only infants need breast milk. As humans, that's when it's necessary for us, when we're growing little babes. It's not good for us as we're getting older. Yes, it might be delicious. Why? It's one of the reasons for that, because it attaches to opiate receptors. So there's this pain relief factor that we get from it. It feels good when we eat it. Another thing to think about is, especially when you're thinking about kids and making these, it's really important to have these good habits, because as they get older, they reflect on childhood. They think about all the traditions and things that they used to eat. And if they're going to remember all these sugary dairy foods, they're going to remind them of childhood. It's going to be a comfort for them. It's going to make them feel good. So give them the healthy options, right? Start young, get these good options into their diet. Have them really taste all these flavors. And life goes on without dairy. You're going to feel good. So it's really inflammatory. It ends up, we need mucus production to help trap the bacteria and viruses in us, right? But we want to flush through. Mucus is our first line of defense, but what causes mucus to build up? Dairy can contribute to that. And then mucus gets thickened, right? Nasal congestion. We feel kind of stagnant and blah, like it just kind of sits there. It's very heavy and it can cause stagnation and mucus to build up. And that's not good. That we're not going to feel good when that happens. So dairy can be a real culprit in so many ways. So there's something called ghee, which is still dairy. It's clarified butter, where when you melt butter and then it's got that white foamy portion on the top, those are the proteins, and they just kind of whisk them away. And then you're left with the rest, with the clarified butter there, right? The rest of the fats there. So sometimes people can handle that a little bit better. So that can be a better option than butter, okay, by not having those proteins in it. But then we can make even better choices. There's a vegan ghee that I got, which was mostly coconut oil, but it looked yellow. It had that color. It looked like butter. So I really like that as an alternative. Coconut oil or avocado oil also. Those are healthier options than butter to choose. And coconut and avocado can withstand higher temperatures. So those would be a good option to replace butter when baking. Eggs. So some people they don't feel good. A lot of people are reacting with eggs. A lot of people choose not to eat eggs because of the treatment of chickens for whatever reasons. If you're wanting to replace eggs, if you have your own chickens and you're having happy, healthy chickens and you like to cook with eggs, I don't see the problem with that then, right? But if we're getting store-bought, we really don't know how these chickens are treated and the eggs. That might be a reason. And some people really, they react to eggs. So I see that a lot in practice. So there's options, right? So we want to make a thickener, right? So you could soak ground flax seeds or chia seeds. I like to soak it in oat milk, and it absorbs the oat. It ends up being a thickener. Just use a couple teaspoons in about a half a cup of the oat milk and let it sit there while you're preparing the rest of it. That can be an egg replacement. Something called agar powder, applesauce. Sometimes people use that, or even nut butters can be used. So try those, see if they work. My favorite is soaking ground flax seeds personally, because you get all those omega-3s and it just really works. So I've been using that for quite some time. Milk, right, with dairy. So really easy to replace milk. People are really familiar with this now. So all the nut milks, all the plant milks out there. Again, I think oat milk is really creamy. Read the labels, make sure there's no added sugar in it. I love the unsweetened type of plant milks, and there's all tons of them. So almond, coconut milk, whatever it is that you like. Figure out your consistency, try a bunch, but there's a ton to choose from. Cashew milk is another one, so plenty of options. Sugar, so this is the biggest one, right? And there are so many options. Stevia is a natural way that we can use a sweetener. Monk fruit extract has become really popular lately, and that's really good at balancing blood sugar levels too. It's really sweet. A little bit goes a long way. And I love getting sweeteners from good old fruits and foods. Okay, so dates are high in fiber. They're so, oh God, I get the medjool dates, and you just slice them up. I put them in the blender. I've made frostings out of them. You can mix it, and I'm going to go into that. We're going to look at some recipes, but it's high in fiber. So really important to have a lower glycemic index when you can get it from food. If you like the flavor of bananas, that's another one that I like to use. The more ripened the banana is, the higher the glycemic index. So if you're trying to lower that content, use more of an unripened banana. So depending on what kind of recipe you're looking for, you can always keep that in mind. And that's easy enough when you have bananas and they're going to go bad, you just freeze them, right? Really easy to then add to a recipe and not be wasteful. Real maple syrup. So big difference between it's refined maple syrup that you get in the store. That's full of corn syrup. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about real maple syrup, right? Sap from the tree. It's full of antioxidants and minerals. So when it comes to decreasing inflammation, it's not just about anti-inflammatory. It's also about high antioxidants, right? And you can get that from real maple syrup. So if you like the taste of that, you're going to get all the benefit of manganese, zinc, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. So these are all rich in all these minerals that are going to benefit you. Coconut sugar is also a good option, or raw and local honey. All right. So I kind of listed these in how of importance really when it came to sugar. So I think that stevia and monk fruit extract are kind of better options than coconut sugar or honey, but these are all better options than just plain white sugar. So so you can't go wrong with that. See what's more palatable and what you like. Replacing sour cream, right? So more dairy, tons of things. There's plant-based yogurt. There's a yogurt called Lava, which has pili nuts in it, and there's no sugar added to it. I think it's delicious. So I'm always recommending this to patients. And there's also some really good vegan cream cheeses out there. If I like the ones with the chives on it, I put it in a dip that I've made. It's really a great option, and you can't tell the difference. It tastes so good. There's even a cashew cheese that I just recently got. It was so yummy. But there's tons of options there. So instead of sour cream, you can definitely do some plant-based options. And now you're avoiding the dairy, which can be of a huge benefit for you. Cheese. So there's tons of vegan cheeses out there. Yes, those are processed foods. Are they necessarily a healthy option? They're, in my opinion, they're better than having dairy cheese. There's also something called nutritional yeast, which is a powder. It has a cheesy flavor to it. It's full of B12. I love adding this and baking with this, if I'm looking for a cheesy flavor, it's so good for you. And then the oils to bake with. So I already had mentioned coconut and avocado. They can withstand those high temperatures. Oils to saute with, sesame, peanut oils, and then or water with herbs. Good old water. You can saute your food with that. And if you want to flavor it with some herbs, go for it. Oils to drizzle. So, if you wanted to use that, some good options there are extra virgin olive oil. Always make sure you get that in a glass jar, tinted, right? Dark glass jar. And flaxseed, walnut, sunflower oil. Those are all really flavorful, all good options. These are some anti-inflammatory muffins that I make. So muffins are really great to have for the holidays, to have for breakfast, hanging around, to have as a snack during the day. So here's a recipe for some pumpkin cacao muffins that I made. So if you want to get a can of organic pumpkin, or if you had your pumpkin and, you're scooping it out, you can also just use good old pumpkin. A cup of cacao. So what's cacao? That's 100% chocolate powder. So it's unsweetened and it's really delicious. So I love having that around. There's tons of things that you can do with cacao. It's really good for you. It's really good for our arteries. It really helps our endothelium within the arteries and keeps it nice and clean and open. And it's really good for vasodilation. So there's tons of health benefits for cacao when you're having just the chocolate and leaving out all the sugar, right? Tons of benefits. I did some coconut flour. That's definitely supposed to be 2 teaspoons of ground flaxseed soaked in oat milk, not 12. I gotta change it up. Definitely just 2 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed soaked in oat milk. That's my favorite, right? I use that as an egg replacement. A cup of oats, a 1/4 cup of coconut oil, a 1/4 cup of some chia seeds, and then I added some vanilla extract, cinnamon, ginger, and turmeric to taste, okay? So tons of options. Don't be afraid to use spices and flavor it up. Pomegranate heart overnight soaked oats. So this I love, and I always love decorating on food. I think it's cute. I think it adds a little spice. The kids always like it. Adults like it too. So these are some overnight soaked oats. This is really great to have for breakfast, to have as a little dish on the side, have it maybe even as a dessert. You can make little individual cups out of this. And I put the pomegranates on top. So I made a big dish of this, and that's just pomegranates in a heart. And so steel cut oats. So when it comes to oats, there's different kinds. So there's steel cut oats. Those are the healthiest type of oats that you can get, least processed. Then we've got rolled oats, which are kind of right in the middle. And then quick oats. Quick oats are really overly processed. So try to avoid the quick oats. So I use steel cut oats. You boil them in water, and they're really, there's so much fiber and there's so much nutrition in those oats. Soak in your favorite plant milk. So I like the oat milk, cinnamon, vanilla extract, or cacao I put in it, some nut butter. I also blend it in. And you can do layers too. So you can have the oats, you could do the layer of the nut butter and then put some fruit top mash on top, or just blend it all in, whatever works for you. And nut butter. So I love, and read the nut butters too, get them in a glass jar, make sure there's no sugar added. So there's all these ways that sugar gets added into foods. You think you're buying something healthy, and then you come home, you look at the label. So really read the labels when you're shopping, avoid the sugar. So I love sunflower seed butter. That one's a little bit thinner. I think it has a really great flavor. I love it, but almond butter, cashew butter, try sunflower seed butter. If you haven't tried it before, I think that you'd really enjoy it. It has a really nice flavor. And tons of appetizers and sides. So I listed a whole bunch here. Sweet potato rounds, that's easy enough. You can bake it up and slice it up, put some hummus, walnuts, and cranberries. It's so easy. And you can even prepare it like that. So they have all the rounds, or Chloe wants to get involved again. Or you can have it all separate. So you can have the rounds there and then have the hummus and then the walnuts and cranberries, and everyone can decorate it. I think it looks nice to have a few made already. It's a nice platter. Spiced pecans. This doesn't get much easier than that. And you can add some cinnamon, some cumin, some dried ground orange peel, a little cayenne pepper if you like a little spice, or you can leave out the spice if you're avoiding nightshades and you don't want it. So tons of ways that you can just, have some nuts out there and you can just add a little flair to it. Rosemary roasted cashews, another way. If you want to drizzle a little oil on it, you don't have to. There's tons of oils already in nuts. Veggie bean casserole, mushrooms, onions, rosemary, right? So we don't have to throw in all the dairy. We can definitely throw in all these veggies, and it can be really yummy. And then whatever beans that you like, black beans, kidney beans, red beans. Whole cranberry sauce, so you don't have to throw in sugar, right? You could use raw honey, or you can use any of those sugar replacements that we were talking about, and maybe a little bit of fresh OJ, or you can even slice up oranges. I had that for Thanksgiving. It was really yummy. Cranberry orange quinoa salad. So quinoa is great. It's a great grain. It's full of protein. It's gluten-free. And it's really delicious. So if you haven't tried quinoa yet, try it. There's so many things that you can do with it. You can really flavor it up, mix it up with so many vegetables. It's wonderful. Or you can have it just laying on the bottom of your dish, however you want. But this is really great. You could add some squash, you could use some pomegranates, have the cranberries and the oranges in that, add any kind of seasoning, really delicious. More side dishes. So I won't go, I'll just kind of I'll say each one, and everything's listed here. Again, I don't have the exact amounts of things. I'm the type of person who, when I'm in the kitchen, what have I got to work with? And it's what's in my cabinet, it's what's in the fridge. And I just make it. A lot of people like recipes and they need it. So if you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out. But these are just some basics to go by. Herbed wild rice and quinoa stuffing, and you can add all the herbs and the pecans and celery and scallions. Scallions are so yummy, and leeks, all those guys, so good for you. And that's really good to support the liver. And it's just a really great way of detoxifying, getting those good greens in our body and the good sulfur compounds that really help us. Cauliflower mashed potatoes. I personally love my sweet potatoes, so I would make this as sweet potatoes. And remember, garlic, rosemary. Rosemary is such a great herb to use for cognitive health, and feeling good. Mushroom gravy. So for those, I am plant-based. I haven't had meat in many years. So I avoid meat, but so mushroom gravy. So you can use a veggie broth and an arrowroot flour. So it's always 1-to-2 ratio. So a little bit more flour than the broth, mushrooms, and then spice it up however you'd like it. Stuffed butternut squash. So that's super easy, and you can stuff it with a whole bunch of things. You can make it sweet or savory. Those pomegranates are really festive for the holiday season. They look good, they're fun, and they can really give any kind of dish the sweetness that you need. Spaghetti squash pesto. So a vegan pesto, you could use pine nuts, basil, and then cashews. I had got a really good one actually recently at Trader Joe's. So if anyone shops there, look out for that. Pesto is just really delicious. So that's another version of it that's just plant-based and avoiding that dairy, right? That's so inflammatory. And you can sprinkle the nutritional yeast on top. So you get that cheddary, cheesy flavor without the dairy, but with all those nutrients. Apple cranberry crisp. So this is really easy, right? Just baking an apple, and it's such a good dish, such a great dessert. And you can just sprinkle, you can make a little mix up the cassava root flour. You could break it up, all the nuts, or you can blend them up and then just kind of put it right on top and bake it. It's so good. I made these pumpkin cupcakes, and then this was a brand so delicious. So they make a really good coconut milk yogurt, and I put it on top, and it looks like a vanilla frosting on top, right? Sprinkled a little cinnamon. It's so good. So here was my recipe for it, and the pumpkin, the banana, coconut sugar. Again, you can use whatever sweetener that you'd like. you know, and remember, if you're going to be using a liquid, you probably don't need as much if it's like in a dried flour. So kind of eyeball it and see. You can cut that in half. So if I were to use some maple syrup, maybe I would just do like a quarter cup of it. You know, because it's going to change the consistency of it. If you're using a dried ingredient, that's going to make it a little bit more dry. So if you're adding in a liquid ingredient, you might not need as much. Okay, so that's kind of my rule of thumb, how I use it. And then all the seasoning in there, you bake it, you store it in the fridge, and then there's the whipped topping. So that coconut milk, you can also add a little bit of real maple syrup to it, or put some vanilla beans or extract to flavor it a little bit. You know, whatever it is, however you like it. Even just right out of the can, I think that whipped topping is pretty good. But if you want to add some vanilla, it can't hurt. So here's a pumpkin pie crust. So you can make a really delicious gluten-free crust. This recipe, I liked it. It was ground white chia seeds. Okay, so then you don't get those little black seeds in it. So it'll be a little bit lighter. Some water, stevia powder, sea salt, that arrowroot powder, and then some shredded coconut. So if you like that flavor, you can add to it. And then that's all the filling from it. So in this one, they called for cashew milk. So it's a really great nut milk. Great benefits there, tastes good. And then this is that agar powder. I was talking about that. So that's like a gelatin form, and it comes from marine red algae. So there's tons of the omegas. When we think about omega-3s, you're always thinking, we're so programmed to think, oh, fish oil, but what are the fish chewing on and chomping on? They're eating that algae, right? The sea life, they're eating the algae. So that's a great source of omega-3s, and it forms into a gelatin. It's a really good option for an egg replacement. And this was a sweet potato brunch bar. So this was something really fun that I did with my friends. And there's tons of ways to make this super healthy. So it's simple. You just get a glass jar, bake a sweet potato for each person. So everyone has that jar, and then they fill it up with what they want. So you can use coconut oil instead of butter, or you could use a vegan ghee, or a type of ghee if you want. If you're okay with that little bit of dairy. Plant-based yogurt as a sour cream replacement, or again, you could use a vegan cream cheese, scallions, dice up some onions to put in, maybe any kind of veggies, maybe a little bit of asparagus, maybe that could be sticking out of it, and then a cashew no cheese sauce. So this is one of my favorites. It's really yummy, and I'm gonna have the recipe coming ahead. This was a gluten-free bread. That I made that was really good. And, you know, you could eat this, for breakfast. You can have the bread out for, you know, as an appetizer or something just to nosh on, you know, when everyone's gathering. It's really good. And all you need, a couple ripe bananas, millet flour is a kind of gluten-free flour. It doesn't have much of a taste, in my opinion. So if you're looking for that, millet flour can be a good one to use. I also added some coconut flour, chia seeds. You could do the ghee, the vegan ghee, you know, or coconut oil, and then just a little bit of water, and you just blend it all together and bake it up. It's really yummy. Remember I was slicing it kind of as like breadsticks. That's how that one came out. It was really good, and I was just eating it. So sometimes it's really good. I love baking those types of breads, because I just truly have not found a great gluten-free bread in the store that I love. So I always prefer baking it. So if you have the time, try it and see if you like it. You can always add veggies to it. Like, I kind of like doing that also. I just made that the other day. I did some layers with I had the bread batter, and then I did veggies. I kind of made it was like a stuffing bread. It was really good. And I diced up apples and onions, and what else was in there? It was apples and onions and celery. That's what I did. And I layered it, and then I put some more bread on top. I think I added some kind of oats to it. It was so good. And then, so here's gluten-free, dairy-free mac and cheese. Yes, this is possible. And yes, it is so good. And the secret ingredient there, and one of the main ingredients, is that cashew no cheese sauce. So super easy. You blend up the cashews, you add some more to get the consistency you want, add the nutritional yeast, add in your seasoning. I really like a garlicky flavor. So dice up a garlic clove, add some lemon juice or just squeeze some lemon wedges in it. And any kind of veggie pasta. I love the chickpea pasta. I love the lentil pasta. Make sure you're reading those ingredients, and the only ingredient there is what you're looking for, right? You just want, whether it be pea flour, the lentil flour, and just that, okay? Or if it's a blend, just have what you want, right? So really read those labels and garnish with a little bit of basil, right? Looks really nice. Here's a chocolate mousse. So, and you just, put a few cinnamon sticks in there. I think those are some pumpkin seeds as an eyeball, and you got a little Rudolph, and the kids like it. So you can make little individual ones, or you can make a big dish. I think probably now, in 2020, everyone wants like individual dishes. No one wants to be scooping into a big one. So you can make little individual ones, really cute. Maybe make it for the kids. You can do a plant-based yogurt, an avocado mash, as long as you're eating it pretty quick. The thing with avocados, they can kind of go bad. So if you're making a big dish, you can leave that avocado nut in there. That helps to keep it fresher. But if you're doing those individual ones, maybe just try and do a plant-based yogurt. Put a bunch of cacao in it to taste. So just keep mixing it up, get it to be that dark brown. And then what's going to make it kind of sparkle and have that shimmer is if you add some, whether it be the raw honey or some real maple syrup. That's going to kind of really, it's going to make it look a little bit brighter. It gives it that pop. So, but if you don't like that and you just want the cacao with the plant-based yogurt, I mean, you really can't go wrong. And then garnish it with, however you want to make your little Rudolph face. So that's a really simple, easy one. And then this is super simple, little Grinches. So these little Santa hats. So you just got the grape, then you put a slice of banana, the strawberry. I still have yet, those are little mini marshmallows. So I haven't found a replacement for those yet. If somebody knows of that, let me know. I'm going to keep looking for them this holiday season, actually. But those are really simple. The kids love it. The adults love it. That's a nice, easy one to make. These Snowball Treats are really great. So I remember in school, we used to have these Zen balls and energy balls. So depending on what you put into them, you could really chill out, or get some energy from these little treats. So there's tons of ways to make them. I like making them into these little frosties. I put a little carrot there. You've got the dates on top. So it just looks really festive, and they're really delicious and easy. And what's great about them is one goes a long way. They're really filling and tons of fiber. So I did a cup. You can mix up whatever you want. If you just want to do cashews, you could do that. Almonds, pecans, walnut, any kind of nuts. Mix them up, get a cup of them. Mix it with, also add some medjool dates to it with the pits removed. So blend those in together, throw in some cacao powder, that sunflower seed butter, or any of your favorite kind of nut butter. So those nut butters are going to really help it to hold it together. Some organic virgin coconut oil, right? Organic. Try and get organic with those oils whenever you can. It's really worth it to get organic. It is important. And then some cinnamon, some local honey. Again, you can replace with real maple syrup or any kind of sweetener that you want. I would do a liquid sweetener for this one. And then some shredded coconut flakes. So you just kind of roll them in the coconut flakes. The carrot shreds are for the nose there, and the toothpicks kind of hold them together with the dates on top. Then you need the dates on top as the hat. So don't forget to also garnish it with the hats if you wanted to. So these, originally I found this recipe as these lactation cookies. So there is the brewer's yeast in here, is a really good ingredient for moms that want help lactating, right? But you can also just eat them, and there's tons of benefits. So I'm going to go into it, and look at how healthy these are. So no bake chocolate chip cookies. You can kind of just have them hanging around, and look at all these yummy, yummy ingredients. So you need some ground flaxseed. Actually, I use flaxseed meal for this. And which actually that's the exact same thing. They just call that there. So it's just all the ground up flax seeds. Some non-bitter brewer's yeast. So brewer's yeast can be pretty bitter. So for this, get the non-bitter one, and it's full of probiotics, B vitamins, tons of protein, chromium that helps support blood sugar, and selenium that helps support your immune system. So tons of health benefits with brewer's yeast. Again, get the non-bitter brewer's yeast because it could be pretty bitter. Some rolled oats, the nut butter. Again, big fan of the sunflower seed butter. Get your sweetener. I would use, again, I would use a liquid one for it if you wanted to try it and use another sweetener, or if you don't even want the sweetener and just use the vanilla extract. I've done that also, and that tastes really good. So depending on what your palate needs, sometimes you don't even really need that sweetener. So really play around with it and see. And then there are these chocolate chips that are plant-based and vegan. They're called Enjoy Life, if you've seen them. I don't think that I list them here, but anyways, they come in packages. It's called Enjoy Life. The dark morsels have unsweetened chocolate as a first ingredient. So those are, in my opinion, those are the healthier ones to go by. They're really good. They taste so yummy. They taste just like dark chocolate chips, that are full of dairy and corn syrup and all those sugars, but it doesn't have that. So get the first ingredient, those dark morsels. Those are the better options because that first ingredient is unsweetened chocolate, and that's what you want to see. And then the next ingredient is cane sugar, but those are literally the two ingredients in these Enjoy Life chocolate chips, and they're amazing. The semi-sweet, the first ingredient's a sweetener, and then it's the chocolate. So when the first ingredient's always what's mostly in it, and it tastes different, right? The semi-sweet ones are sweeter. You can taste the difference. So again, when you really change the palate, you start eating healthier, you take sugar out of it, you don't crave those sugars. You don't want those sweet tastes. So your palate changes. So you might, this is new for you, you might want to start with the semi-sweet because they're a little bit sweeter. But I encourage you, try those dark morsels. They're really good. And if you get used to them, that's going to be something that's better for your palate. Of course, 100% cacao is the ultimate, right? That's the real benefit that we get from the chocolate with our vasodilation, helping our arteries and all that stuff. And I'm going to show you some pictures with that too. In fact, the 100% cacao we're going to see in this peppermint bark. And this was so much fun to make. And it tasted so good and it looked so good. So you can use this with chocolate or just without. It could just be just that peppermint bark. So this was really good. Lots of fun to make this. So this is what you need actually. So this, and then I made it. So I'll tell you how I made it with the chocolate too. But so this is without the chocolate, actually, this one. So it's just coconut oil, coconut butter, peppermint extract, fresh mint leaves, strawberries and raspberries all blended in. It's just such a beautiful dish. So you're just using low heat, melting the coconut butter and the butter. And then when you remove it, then you add in the peppermint extract and all the flavor. So you just you cover a glass dish. Make sure you have the wax paper because you're going to want to need it when you pull it out. You just don't want to use a plain dish. So you definitely want that wax paper, and pour the mixture in there, and you add the chopped fruit and the mint leaves, cool it in the freezer for 2 hours. And then you crack it up. It will melt again. So definitely you want to serve this cold. But oh, it's so delicious. And once it hardens, it's fine for like a few hours out, but you're going to want to then store it, in the fridge, and keep it really cool. But it's so good. You can also do a bottom layer of chocolate. So I did this one time also. Again, make sure that you have that wax paper. I just melted the 100% cacao, had that as a layer. And then I simply just added this mixture right on top of it. I thought it was going to blend in. I was worried about it, but that wasn't the case. So I had the cacao there. I let the cacao cool a little bit. So I didn't put it on right when it was hot from the heat. So I let it cool a little bit. If you want, you can even put that in the fridge or the freezer if you want, but you don't have to. I wouldn't have it be piping hot. And then I just poured the peppermint over, and then I had like a chocolate base to it. So it was like a really delicious, decadent, all natural Andes mint with all the benefits. It's really quite a beautiful dish. And it just looks nice there on the dessert table and to hang around. And it makes your breath really fresh, right, at the end of a meal. So I love it. this is a really easy option, a chocolate vegan frosting that I got. And I have to give a shout out to Dada Eats. She used to be on the Today Show and make healthy recipes, or she used to just make really good recipes. And then she's gotten really healthy with her recipes lately. So I love it. So this is just, and look at how rich this is. So I use almond butter, but you can also use sunflower seed butter, and that would make it not as thick. So depending on what you're going for. So this one was a little thicker with the almond butter, but you can use any nut butter really, cacao butter, the oat milk, and then the maple syrup. Really, really yummy, dairy free and delicious. I was even just eating these by the tablespoon. Like I loved it. This is so yummy. And this picture I love. So this is all the melted cacao. You guys see that there? And then, so this is fresh out of the oven. But what I like to do is then mush it. And so that 100% cacao ends up being a frosting. So, but I like this picture because for this one, I don't think I mushed it, or I took a picture before I blended it on. But when you blend it on, it's like, it becomes a nice chocolate crunch, when it, as it hardens after it's baked. So really good. So I just break up the cacao, put it on over it, threw some pecans on here, but this ended up being more of a pudding the way that I made this. So yeah, it was just pumpkin, some coconut flour, some cinnamon, and then I think I put the walnuts inside, and then I also had them on top and just the cacao. It was so yummy. And when it's settled the next day, it thickens up a little bit more. But this, I think I was aiming for a cake. It came out as a pudding. Hey, that's okay. There's no rules in baking. It comes out, you enjoy what comes out. If it tastes good, go for it. And this was a little cake. So this was in my heart dish. So again, I used that wax paper on the bottom. This was my sweet potato flour. So a sweet potato chocolate cake, right? Gluten-free, vegan, plant-based. I used a sweet potato flour. I blended up my dates. So that was a sweetener and tons of fiber, oat milk, pecans, a little xanthan gum, just to get it as that thickener in there, and I could have used some ground flax seeds, but I didn't. I had the gum there, the xanthan gum, and I just threw that in, a little pinch of baking soda, baking powder, so it rises a little bit. I put the vegan chocolate chips in it. I put the chocolate chips on top. This was so yummy. It came out more like a crisp, but it was a cake. You could eat it with the fork. It was really, really, really yummy. I just loved it. And it could have used a little frosting on it, right? So it could have added a frosting. I'm going to talk about some of my frostings here. But this one was just, I made it like this, and it was delicious. So the sweet potato flour, it was really good. And this was so I'm going to talk about some healthy dips. So this was a Christmas tree dip that I made one time. And there's the guacamole there. There's the vegan cheeses on top. You can do a lot with holiday dips. It's so funny. So this is the layers for it. I'm going to actually go through. I've got pictures for each layer for another dip that I had made that I think that you'd really like. So this was just some ingredients, a lot of things that I've already talked about, and then this I made for the new year last year. So you could use olives, and I just wrote the year on top, so we could do that for 2020. And it was just, this dip is always a favorite. I've been making this for years and years, all different kinds. I've done flag shapes for Memorial Day, 4th of July. There's everything, you name it. There's so many things that you can do with these dips, and really just make like a fun, you can do a face on top. The kids love that. Make a heart out of, strawberries or whatever it is. You could do tons of things with fruit and veggies. So I love it. So here was one of my dips that I broke it down, and this was all, so the first layer right there with the guy with the pink eyes comes from this company, Amy's Organic, and they make these veggie refried beans, and I love it. I love that as a bottom layer. It's so good. And then I was chopping up my veggies there. And so next layer, so I had some arugula and spinach and some mixed greens, just throw in all the veggies there. and just dice it up really well and have it all chopped up. So really good. Get your greens in there. Then the next layer was hummus. So that's a great dip, right? And tons of fiber, tons of really yummy ingredients. This was a balsamic caramelized onion hummus. So yummy. There's tons of good hummuses out there that you can use. And then the fourth layer was salsa. So I don't eat tomatoes. I avoid tomatoes because they're a part of the nightshade family when it comes to autoimmune conditions. It just kind of throws fuel on the fire for inflammation. So I do half and half because my family and friends, a lot of them love tomato. And so there was a peach mango salsa that had tomato in it. So that was one side. That was actually store-bought that I did them. But then I made myself a mango kiwi salsa. What's the key to salsa? I throw some onions in there, right? It spices it up. And this was a really good mix. I love the mango. I love the kiwi together. It's got those colors in it. It was really yummy. I think I threw a little salt and pepper in there too. And then this was a layer of guacamole. And I like this picture because it shows in the back, that was store-bought. And then look at all the chunks in the homemade. It looks so good. But whatever you have time for. So if you want to do the store-bought to make a nice, easy fifth layer, go for it. If you're able to make it homemade, you chop it up, you throw some onions and some cilantro and some spices in it. Really yummy. And then I did this vegan cream cheese. So this is from a company called Go Veggie. It was a chives and garlic. And look at all the flavor just popping out of that picture, right? You could see it there. So yummy. It's a great sour cream replacement. And then I did a vegan cheese on top. So really good. I think this was a company called Daya. For myself, I have to really read vegan cheeses because I don't eat potato starch, and there tends to be a lot of potato starch in it. So this one did not have it in there. So it works for me. And then I made a little basil face on it, right? So yummy. And then you could do your root veggies, and just flavor it up. So if anybody has any questions about your favorite dish, let me know. I'm in the Q&A now. You can always message me if you have any questions. One of the things that I left out of here, actually, it's a frosting. So it's another frosting that I made with cashews and dates and oat milk. So it was kind of like 1-to-1 portions, the oat milk for flavoring. You can add vanilla extract, whatever kind. That is a really great frosting. And it's so delicious, and it's so yummy. My sister-in-law, I think I got the idea from my sister-in-law. She made it for my little nephew's first birthday, and they made a cake for him, and it was all natural. It was all good, and he loved it. So you don't have to add sugar to make things sweet and delicious. You can just use food from Mother Nature. So that was a really good frosting. So I'll have to make sure that I add that in next time. But yeah, so I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. If you have a favorite dish of yours and you're stuck, you don't know how to make it healthy, shoot me a message. You can email me. Feel free to follow me on my Instagram page at Dr. Dawn ND, Dr. Dawn ND. And also feel free to follow my Facebook professional page, facebook.com/DrDawnND. I'm always posting about food, things that I'm cooking, things that I'm baking, just here to inspire you, get you in the kitchen. Have no fear. There's tons of healthy options out there. And I encourage you, make it healthy this holiday season. You'll feel better. Your loved ones will feel better, and you'll feel good, and it's good for you. So enjoy. Happy holidays. Bye. I'll put a little hat on her. Thanks for joining. Have a awesome holiday. Bye now.